everyone, it's Trish from Dish Kitty Studio, and this is my weekly dish video. This is number 44. I started out here with just a little montage of my morning pages. I am happy to say that I did my morning pages every single day this week, so that's a pretty big accomplishment. You can see I usually grab my coffee and my notebook and a pen and just start writing. So this clip is me working on a coloring page. I don't do coloring pages a ton, but I do them occasionally. So this one I was working on during my lunch, and I'm using my De La Rowney Aquafine watercolor palette there. So I was just kind of working on, I'd started this one previously, so I was just kind of filling in some of the white space to try to finish it up. Still not quite done, but it's close. I did work on it a little bit more off camera. I like to use, watercolors are just my favorite medium, so I like to use those on my coloring pages too. This particular book, the pages come out, which makes it really easy to use watercolor on them, and you don't have to worry about bleed through and all that kind of stuff, because this is not watercolor paper, obviously. But this was really fun. I did this on my lunch. I apologize that it's such a tiny little screen there, but I had my phone set up on my tripod on my desk, and for whatever reason I must have just had it at exactly the right angle for it to think that I wanted to do portrait mode. So this was the best I could get, but I think you can still get the idea here. I was just kind of working on filling in these birds. One of the reasons I love to use watercolor on these pages is because even with, a limited palette, you can get a lot of different tones by adding more water, mixing in a little bit of white, or mixing colors together, and it makes it, your color palette still comes out looking like it's much larger than the actual colors that you have available. So this was really fun. It's fun, especially during lunch. Sometimes I just want something very mindless that I don't have to think too much about, and this was perfect. So here I'm going to give you just kind of a little bit of a close-up so you can see what this page is looking like so far. I think it's turning out so pretty. And see all those beautiful colors. Even with just a limited color palette, you can get a lot of different variations. So I love to use watercolor on these. This clip is another one from lunchtime. I'm at my desk and I'm just sort of working on my daily illustrated journal, my Fauxbonichi, and just coloring a picture of my husband. He had been out of town and he came back this day, so I drew a little picture of him. And then look at this terrible circle. It's not round at all. It's so lumpy. But you still get the idea. I don't try to make these little illustrations in my Fauxbonichi daily journal perfect. So again, I'm using my De La Rowney Aquafine watercolor palette and just adding some color here. So doing a little bit of his skin tone here, and then finishing up the colors. I think this little drawing turned out so cute. It's always fun for me to be able to draw people I know, and particularly my husband, because I don't know, I find it fun to draw little doodles of him. So I think this turned out great. This was a fun page to do, and it really did turn out nice. And you can see I've got there underneath my hand, I've got my Jimmy John stickers, because when he got home into the evening, and I wasn't quite sure if he was going to make it back in time for dinner or not, so we just ordered Jimmy John's and had sandwiches. So I'm giving him a little green background there, and then I think I decided to write his name. Yeah, I did. So I just write in his name there, and then I think I ink it, and then I go ahead and add watercolor to that too. Yeah. So this is another pretty simple page. I don't spend a ton of time on these. Usually, it takes me maybe between 10 and 20 minutes probably to get one of my pages together, depending on how much, so I have spent much more, but for the most part, they're pretty quick. Sorry, I have a kind of a sore throat, so I'm sipping hot tea here while I record this voiceover. But I think that's about it for this. I do have an image of the finished page here after this clip's over, so you can see how it turned out. Yeah, there you go. So that's pretty typical of what my pages look like. So this is just, I filmed this one this morning. This is just me, again, working on another page in my Fauxbonichi daily journal. Of course, it's been freezing here in Michigan, so it was finally time for me. We had actually like quite a bit of snow at the beginning of this week, so it was time for me to really get my winter coat out. So I just drew a little picture of me in my winter gear because 'tis the season. Can you believe that Thanksgiving is coming up so fast? Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's coming up this week already. So this is just a really inexpensive kids watercolor palette. I use that sometimes when I like to use it a lot. I use it when I don't really want to spend a lot of time mixing up colors because it has every color you could possibly ever need. So it's much quicker than using a more limited palette and then trying to mix up the colors you need. I had a little trouble with the skin tone there, right? It ends up looking, I don't know, it's kind of greenish there. I think I go back and fix it up a little bit, but it's still not quite right. And then I didn't wait for it to dry enough and my glasses bled into my cheek there, but again, this isn't about being perfect. It's really just about getting my memory onto the page and doing my little, quick doodle illustration. So I'm coloring my little hat, and I think I add a little bit of a background here with watercolor just to give that drawing some weight. But yeah, so this is another really typical page for me. I typically do, just kind of one focal illustration. I pick one thing that I want to illustrate, and then usually I'll just write about the rest of it. So I think that's about it for this week. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back soon. Have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next week.